Hi, I'm Charlie Simons, broadcasting live from the Rev 17 conference. I'll tell you all about that in just a second. Welcome to Do Not Talk, where I talk about the two things you're never supposed to talk about, politics and religion. One decides what life is going to be like here on Earth. The other one decides what it's going to be like when we leave it.
This is so true.
You know what I'm saying? The silent majority has finally found its voice, but that's because courageous is contagious. This woman right here, I've met briefly, shook her hand, but never got her on the show, and I'm almost kind of starstruck, frankly. She's a human rights attorney is the best label I think people have thrown at you.
Yep.
This is LEIGH Dundas, and how I met you, Leigh, was I've posted at least 100 of your videos during COVID.
Wow.
I'm not kidding.
That's a lot of videos, but I did get around like a bad good penny for some of the years there, for sure.
Your boldness was extraordinary, and you had the facts to back you up. And I don't know about you, but I got so shut down and shut up and deleted and anything and everything they could do to get me to stop talking about those very things.
Yeah.
So you had some success, though. You were able to keep your channel. I just had all 7 of my Facebook pages deleted, and they just deleted my Instagram this morning. So anybody, yeah, when you see Mark Zuckerberg up there going, oh, it's a kinder, gentler towards conservatives kind of Facebook and Meta, that's a lie. Complete lie.
Yeah, it's we're still not done with the war. Yeah,
No.
It's we're still fighting, and censorship. Censorship is the way that every genocide starts. You can't really start nuking people in the ovens of Auschwitz if you've got Charlie's microphone and audio-vis team, rolling 24/7 and broadcasting that to the world. So one of the primary things they do is they start making it verboten. You're not allowed to talk about certain things. You're not allowed to say certain things. You're not allowed to do certain things. And we're talking good things, not, obviously you shouldn't be allowed to say and do porn and murder and stuff like that. That's just rule of law. But when suddenly your First Amendment rights in this country are being eviscerated and gutted for no reason, and topics that are not inherently dangerous, but should be discussed. Informed consent, freedom of choice when it comes to healthcare, criticism of our government. When all of a sudden those things are being shut down, you've got one foot. If you're not a student of history, you may not know this, but you got one foot in 1939 Germany, and if you don't stop that slippery slope slide, pretty soon both your feet are going to be standing in a concentration camp. So one of the things that was really critical was all of us standing up, even when our channels were getting shut down, even when our microphones were getting taken away, and screaming it out any way that you could. I mean, if you had told me when I got into Yale Law School at the ripe old age of 17 in 1990, I think it was.
When Chub Rock jumped upon the scene with a dream and a pocket full of green. Hip-hop reference.
I was
on the radio then.
When that was the thing, right? If you had told me that my crowning achievement in my legal career was going to be standing on a brick planter bed in front of the OC Board of Supervisors with a Walmart bullhorn screaming at people, I would have thought you were high on something that the rap stars were smoking. Like that's not how lawyers roll. But the rule is when they're shutting you down, you find any channel, any open channel, person to person, phones, Zoom, social media, billboards, broadcasts, television, radio, whatever open channel will have you or that you can hook and crook your way into, you take that microphone and you don't let go and you speak truth until your hair is on fire and you get the word out. Because the ugly reality of Hitler's Germany is it never, ever would have happened if MSNBC and CNN and the BBC had been allowed to go in there and actually broadcast what was going on. The thing that allowed it to flourish was the darkness ushered in by way of censorship. You cannot allow censorship.
Your profession is so much like the media in that the left dominates it. Easily 90% plus or well ensconced on the left and downright communists.
Yeah.
Communists and Satanists.
Yeah.
I don't know about it in the legal field, but in the media, I'm telling you right now, it's true. What kind of pushback have you gotten? Were you always this speaking out? Were you always this awake? When did that happen?
I'm pretty awake. On sex trafficking, I've been very awake for a very, very long time. It's just been a passion. Sex crimes, vulnerabilities, vulnerable populations, bullies taking advantage, domestic violence, anything in that, like child abuse generally. I had been studying that. I was a music major in college for a nanosecond until I realized I was probably not cut out to practice an inanimate object for 10 hours a day. And my mother was like,
And you have to stay quiet while
you have to stay quiet. Your hands do the talking, not your mouth. And we all know how I feel about my mouth doing the talking. So my mother, rightly, I hate to say it because who wants to say their mother was right, but even when you're 53, my mother said when I got out of college at 17, because I'd skipped high school, she goes, SeaWorld's not hiring, so that dolphin trainer idea, I know you think they're really intelligent creatures, but you might, and you kind of don't like math and science. Might I suggest law school? You really do well at arguing, and you might want a bigger audience than just me.
Well at arguing.
She was tired of being my debate buddy. So,
Right.
and truth be told, wonderful woman. But I've always been able to debate the pants off all my parents and relatives and everybody in between. So it was a good choice to go channel this, need I have. So yeah, I've always been outspoken. I was always the one saying, when somebody was picking on the bully, that's not right. I'm going to go get the principal to shut you down.
That's a great, if you're a public defender or whatever, but I'm talking about politically, because you're speaking against things that the left seems to embrace.
I was very quiet politically and not, I was always fiscally conservative and pretty sane, but I didn't talk politics. Like I was a good little soccer mom. You don't talk religion and politics. I take my kid to the play dates and we talk about mom stuff. And I have a bunch of girlfriends that I'd had since junior high or before. Never talked politics. But COVID hit. And I am a student of history. And I'd been fighting the sex slave fight overseas in communist countries for the preceding 10 years.
Wow.
And so I could see the communist agenda coming for us because I'd been working in places like Cambodia, which had, a communist overthrow in the 70s. So when the governor of Rhode Island in March of 2020 told the New Yorkers they could not come to their second vacation home that they owned, and she was calling out her National Guard type people to keep people whose primary residence was not Rhode Island's, out of her state, I was like, I don't live in Rhode Island. I visited there like twice in my entire life. People are like, why do you care about Rhode Island? I'm like, I don't care about Rhode Island. I care about tyranny. And that woman, I forget her name now, I'm like, is pushing tyranny. And I am going to go on Facebook and make a rant. And nobody knew who I was. I intentionally had no online presence because I fought the cartels that sell children for sex.
You a target.
Yeah. Like, I fight the Asian mafia for my day job. I'm not going to be like, oh, here I am on Insta and Facebook. So I had one Facebook account that had like 2 friends on it. Like, that was it. But I make this rant and I post it publicly.
And we started sharing it.
And instantly,
We who think like you started sharing it.
my maid of honor and my best friend since junior high were apparently Democrats. And pretty much within the month had disowned me after talking trash all over my reels for a while and my feed. And then I found a bunch of new friends to replace them with, times 1 million or 10 million. Yes. And I've never shut up since. And I'm sad about the loss of a couple friends, but I'll tell you this.
And family. I've lost family members who
Same.
won't talk to me anymore.
Yeah. And I wouldn't do it any differently ever. Because this is war, and if we don't win this war, it'll be us in Auschwitz. So I didn't want my kid living in Rwanda or Phnom Penh, Cambodia, or a Japanese internment camp, or whatever we're going to call the modern-day COVID quarantine camps that they had going. They actually had those going in Australia. You didn't even need to be COVID positive. They had no cases of COVID. They were taking people who had not tested positive for COVID and merely been around other people who had tested positive for COVID but were not actually sick, and herding them into quarantine camps where they had no rights and they were locked down and being hosed off by people wearing alien hazmat suits. So we had it pretty damn good in this country comparatively, but the reason we had it pretty damn good
It was a test market.
is because our forefathers had the foresight to enact the First Amendment and then backstop it with the Second Amendment. That Second Amendment that we
That's the testicular fortitude right there, that Second Amendment. It protects the first.
It protects the first. It is very rare for a country to allow its citizens to criticize the government. That is the purpose of the First Amendment. It is not so that I can criticize you and you can criticize me. That's a fair fight. Nobody gives a hoot about you and me throwing stones at each other. It is very rare for a country to allow its citizens to openly attack its elected leaders with their voice. But that is what keeps this country great. And they went one step further, and they said, we are going to give you the right to bear arms for when push comes to shove. And the reality is that no matter how many Democrat governors we have, no matter how much they try to push registering your gun, ain't nobody ever going to figure out exactly how many of Grandpappy's shotguns you and I inherited from Grandpappy before he died. And that gives your elected leaders pause before they go doing the goat rope that happened in Slovakia and Australia, where within 3 months, if you weren't COVID vaccinated, you were bartering on the street because you couldn't go in and buy clothing for your children. You couldn't go in and get gasoline for your car. You couldn't go in and get vegetables for your child. They were overnight living in darn near a Warsaw ghetto.
SEG, social economic governance.
Yeah.
What we call it here. They just call it communism.
That's right. So all of y'all who fought the good fight and all of us who lost friends and family in the process, you did it right. Because if we hadn't have stood up, they would have taken our weapons. They would have pushed us into quarantine camps. And if America had fallen, darn right the rest of the world would have fallen.
I shudder to think where we would be right now if Kamala Harris, if they had pulled off enough election fraud to put her in the Oval Office. I shudder to think what we would be right now.
I don't think we would have made it a year before seeing camps. I think people like us would be in camps.
I don't think you're exaggerating.
No, I'm not. I work in places like Cambodia. People don't think about genocide. That's the first problem. Who wants to? It's a dark topic. I get it. Average people don't want to go there because our minds don't work that way. But, I talked about from the stage last night, I opened with the story of Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge rolling in. It was early April 1975. I was 3 years old. It was a beautiful spring day in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. And when you talk to the Cambodian survivors of that genocide, they will tell you it was a day just like any other. The birds were chirping, the butterflies were going around, and then all of a sudden these trucks started rolling down the street, and they had guys in black pajama-looking things with bullhorns saying, come out of your house. It's really important that you evacuate the city. It's just for a couple weeks. Same lie. It's always just for a couple weeks, right? And, no harm is going to, you don't need to take all your belongings. Quit loading up your bicycles and your cars with your belongings. We're going to provide for you. It's going to be fine. You're going to learn some new skills. And the mistake they made is they believed the leaders who were lying to them. And then they ended up in the Cambodian countryside with nothing but the clothes on their back.
They also knew at that point that there was more nefarious things going on. Many of it was because of fear. They had heard about other families, what had been done to them and so on before they got to their village.
Yeah.
That word spreads even without text messaging.
They push the fear button all the time because what fear does, one of the reasons the Navy SEALs do the hooded box training, they basically drop a very high-tech black burlap sack over the Navy SEAL recruit's head. And they put blinders on him and earplugs in, and then they yank all this contraption off of him, and they present him with a real-life scenario. And the guy never knows what it's going to be. Maybe there is a woman in a burqa, head to toe, only her eyes showing, who looks pregnant and has 2 toddlers with her and is simply asking for directions to the gas station. And he needs to assess the situation in about 1 second or less and not blow her to smithereens because she's actually good people, like she's a mom. Now, the next time the hooded box comes off that guy's head, it may be a woman with no kids, looking pregnant, but actually carrying a loaded sawed-off shotgun or explosives under, and he needs to actually shoot her before she detonates a 2-mile radius, right? And the reason they do, if you don't know this, Charlie, it's really fascinating. The reason they do this is because adrenaline, which we all shoot during fight, flight, right, instantly takes our frontal lobe, the thinking part of our brain, the strategizing part of our brain, shuts it down. You called it. Shuts it off. And that's good and bad because what your body is doing is taking the blood from your brain and shunting it to your thighs and Run, Forrest, run for your life.
That's what it's telling you.
Yeah, run. Okay, you got a rabid tiger on your butt, and if you don't run, he's taking a bite out of your butt, and you're going to be dinner tonight, right?
You're going to be buttless.
You're going to be buttless, and you're going to be dead. And the people who survived, we're all the product of the survivors, are the ones who ran and listened to that instinct and ran away. Unfortunately, that requires the chess playing part of our brain to go offline, and unfortunately, that is the strategy part, and that is what you actually also need if you're going to be in it for the win and the long haul. You can't just be running blindly. So the whole point of the Navy SEAL training is to get these guys to actually feel the adrenaline, pump the adrenaline where they need it to go, but still be able to keep their thought process going. And the way you do it, it's practice makes perfect. So they do this drill over and over and over again until these guys can be fully adrenalized and still thinking while they're running through the battlefield, right? So that is how you get a 400 to 1 kill ratio. Navy SEALs run 200 to 400 to 1, meaning for every one of their own they lose by the enemy, we take out 200 to 400 of the enemy with their skill set. Average Army grunt, 20 or 40 to 1. So this training that they put the SEALs and the Green Berets and the Rangers and Delta, all those forces, the Special Forces, actually does its job. It 10x's the lethality and the effectiveness of these soldiers. But that's the kind of thing, by the way, to leave your audience with something practical they can do. Your brain doesn't know the difference between practice and real life. So you can actually drill these things with your kids in the car, with your husband, when you're stuck in traffic. And the way you do it, because any plan today is better than no plan. You don't want to be deer in the headlights, right? So you just say things like, hey, babe, to your 8-year-old kid sitting in the car on the way to school, what would happen if a giraffe jumped in front of our car right now? And your child, if they're like mine, will be like, Mom, we don't live in Africa. That's never going to happen. I'm like, okay, true that. Good on your geography and knowledge of native species. But humor me, if you will. Pretend that a giraffe does jump out on the 5 freeway. What are you going to do? What are we going to do? I don't know, Mom. We could stop the car and use your cell phone to call for help. Great. Say my cell phone's dead. What else could we do? I don't know. We could flag down a passerby and use their cell phone. Great. Say there's a grid outage. Now what can we do? We could cross the freeway, go into that store, and use their landline. Great. What else? What else? What else? You don't care what they say. You care.
You want them thinking.
That they say something. Anything. Any freaking plan. The supermodel that survived the Thailand tidal wave and was found 3 days later clinging to the top of a palm tree, scaled the palm tree. Okay? Any plan today in a natural disaster, something like 60 to 80% of the people who die in natural disasters didn't need to. They die because of analysis paralysis. Panic and the deer in the headlight, and they're going, oh my gosh. There's 3 stages you go through. Denial. This can't be happening. That's not a tidal wave. I live in Huntington Beach. We don't have tidal waves here. We're not in Southeast Asia. Followed by deliberation, where your brain is Q&Ing. I don't know, Scooter. It looks like a big damn wave. Yeah, maybe it's just a good surfing day. No, I think you should run for the hills. Forrest, run. Nah, I don't want to get out of my car and run for the hills. That's weird.
Scooter.
And, you're going back and forth. Your brain is arguing with itself. Those are the first 2 stages. You will die if you don't get to the 3rd stage, which is taking action. Do something. But if you drill it with your children, every time you're stuck in traffic, every time they're bored, Mom, how much longer? I got to pee. Okay, let's play this game. What are you going to do if? And you keep giving them wild arse scenarios, eventually they will be one of those people who problem solves on the fly, and that is what you need. Yeah.
I wish my dad would have done that, but instead he played the quiet game.
I know. My mom.
First one to speak loses.
I know. My mother, okay, check this out, Charlie. My mother would say, we're going to play the sit on your hands game. She'd be like, shove your hands under your thighs and sit on them in the back seat. And I'd be like, why are we doing this, Mom? So I finally asked her a couple years ago, I'm like, Mom, why did we play that game? And she goes, you haven't figured it out yet? I go, no. She goes, you couldn't talk without gesturing.
You talk with your hands.
So if I managed to silence your hands for 30 seconds, I could finish making the grocery list in my head. It would buy me a minute. That's about all it bought me, but a minute is better than nothing when your mouth's going 80 miles an hour.
That's funny. You're a treasure. Go back, please, on my Rumble channel, also on YouTube, and on that other place I'm not remembering right now because Facebook deleted all my pages. I have Leigh's speech that she gave. I won't ask you to now because I have a limited amount of time with you. We've already gone over the limit, by the way. You told a story about a Medal of Valor, a Medal of Honor recipient that brought me to tears. Brought me to tears. And it was so impactful. Go back and watch that from last night, day one of this 3-day conference. Leigh Dundas, I value you, I treasure you, I admire you, and I'm just so grateful that I finally had you on. That just makes me so happy. So.
Well, thank you for sharing me with your awesome tribe. You're doing God's work. As I'll close on the note that we opened on. We are nothing without a microphone, and this is the thing that's keeping us free, and nobody talks about it. Nobody realizes the importance of this little fuzzy rabbit that we like to talk about, but the podcasters were the ones getting the word out. You are the new media. Legacy media is already dead in the water. It died on the vine a long time ago. You are the new truth, the new reality, the new broadcasters, and I'm always honored to share a mic with folks like you and your tribe. And if you've not yet been to Peace of Heaven, spelled P-E-A-C-E, peace like harmony and peace, peaceofheaven.life. Go there, get involved.
That's what this is all about.
Now is the day for you to be the hero you always wanted to be. If you're a fat soccer mom like me, the odds are you are never going to get a chance to be a Medal of Honor winner like the guy's story I shared last night who had 53 bullet holes in him and saved a Special Forces platoon on May 2nd, 1968 in the jungles of Vietnam. I mean, his name was Master Sergeant Roy Benavides, if you want to Google him. But I feel like it's more fun to watch a person tell a story about his life. So try to find a storyteller telling his story rather than just reading it on Wikipedia. But check it out last night. I told his story, and then I also told the story of Secretariat, which is another good one.
That was extraordinary.
Nothing is impossible without God, and there are plenty of people who say, yeah, that's impossible. Frickin' watch me do it anyway. And that is how this country was built, and it is your duty as we're rolling on a 250-year anniversary next year to do your part. And your part is, you're not going to cross an icy Delaware River. You're probably never going to go jump in a foxhole and save somebody, but you can save children. You're already a good soccer mom and dad, however many you raised. Go level up, go exponential it, go mortgage your house, sell your extra car, do something crazy, because you know what? God doesn't care how much green paper you die with. The only value of those dollars in your bank account are what you choose to do with them, and there is no greater cause than peaceofheaven.life and saving children. I love you guys, and I'll see you again soon.
Where do we find you, by the way? Anybody who wants to read your writings and follow along with you?
I am at Leigh Dundas. My mother gave me extra letters. It is L-E-I-G-H. 5 letters in my first name. Leigh Dundas, D-U-N-D-A-S. I married a Scot. LeighDundas.com has all of my videos if you want to check out my video rants from the last few years. I'm also Leigh Dundas on Facebook. There is one other of me. He is a male chef in Australia. You will know you are on the wrong account if he's talking about cooking, because I cannot cook. I literally will burn water. Don't go there with me. My husband can attest that I have actually burned water down to where the pan almost exploded. So if it's a chef by my name, you've got the wrong Leigh Dundas if you're looking for the girl who lights up Governor Newsom 10 times a day. So LeighDundas.com. LeighDundas.com, Facebook Leigh Dundas, Instagram is I think Leigh Dundas for Freedom with the number 4. And I don't even know how to post all the other ones. I am just a Luddite on social media. I need to get better about it.
Are you getting work, by the way?
Am I getting work?
I want to make sure you're okay financially. My friends, I want to make sure they're taken care
Well,
of.
I will do a shameless self.
Because doing what you do, it's kind of hard to keep a clientele.
Yeah. I have been saving children for 12 years. I'm not practicing normal law anymore. But my husband and I, before COVID, had a stem cell company. Before you get your short and curlies in a twist, this is umbilical stem cells. So for all you men in the audience who don't know much about childbirth, I'll keep it G-rated. But after the baby comes out of our body, the umbilical cord comes out. We don't get to keep it. We don't go rodeo like lassoing people with it when our 2-year-old's running away. It would be handy if we did. That ain't how it works. The doctor goes, ew, this gross cord that kept your baby alive, now he's in the real world. Toss it. Well, they figured out a few years back that it's really, really, really rich in stem cells. What are stem cells? They're little blank slate cells that can turn into anything in your body. They can make new muscle, new nerve tissue, new cartilage if you got a bone-on-bone knee where all the cushion wore out. And they started harvesting stem cells from the umbilical cord and putting them into people our age who have a bone-on-bone knee or a torn tendon in our shoulder or you name it. And if you want to know if they work great, yeah, they work great. There are no known side effects at all. They've done hundreds of thousands of placental and umbilical stem cell injections, not aborted fetal tissue. That's gross. That's weird.
Exactly, and that's the biggest fear that a lot of us have. It's like they're using fetuses.
No, they are not. This is not Planned Parenthood weirdness. We would never do that. This is umbilical cord that's going to hit the trash can anyway, so at least it's doing a good purpose. And it is highly efficacious. They had ABC News, mainstream media, in the backyard of a surfer who was probably 10 years older than me. He had gray hair on April 2nd, 2024 last year, so almost a year ago to the day. Quadriplegic, took a header off his surfboard, broke his neck, had not moved a muscle, 7 years. They were videotaping this man walking around his backyard pool deck with a cane.
Oh.
They are reversing quadriplegia. And Japan just announced about a month ago they're now getting their quadriplegics up and vertical as well. We treated our very first quadriplegic. We've been doing stem cells since 2016. First, he was a high-level para. A tick bit him in Canada when he was camping between his shoulder blades, and it caused his spinal cord to swell, and he's just lost all feeling below here. We treated him the week before Thanksgiving, Charlie, and my husband talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he's like, how's it going? He goes, well, I can hum and I can feel it in my butt. I can smoothly move my legs now. I can bend over. He had no core strength. All of his core muscles turned back on. If he drops something out of his wheelchair, he can bend down, pick it up without taking a face plant. And he said, my physical therapist is about to discharge me because he doesn't teach people how to walk, and that's my next step, is they think I'm ready to start walking again.
So find out about this at LeighDundas.com?
Yes, I have a healthy living page for all of you who don't believe in big pharma, who don't think that, that's the way to go. We've also got some amazing oxygen water. It's called Patriot Oxygen Water. It is not like all the other oxygen. It's not oxygen infused. It's not Kangen. It's not hydrogen. It's not structured. It's none of that jazz. This is truly unique water, but I am here to tell you, the University of Italy had a woman who cut her thumb off across the nail bed on the diagonal. They threw some oxygen water in the bandage thinking it would help speed the healing. And when they ripped the bandage off a little while later, Charlie, her thumb had regrown. And the doctors were like, we're not starfish and salamanders. This isn't supposed to happen. We all learned in third grade science that you don't regrow appendages when you cut them off, so don't cut them off. And yet that is what happened. They figured out the high oxygen content in the water reactivated a gene that is normally, it goes dormant after we're born, because this gene makes appendages when we're in our mother's tummy in utero. And then once we're born, we don't need to be growing fingers and arms out of our shoulders, so it goes dormant. Reactivated this lady's gene, regrew her flippin' thumb. So the water is amazing. If you've got any sort of issue, disease, aging is all a result of lack of good oxygen usage. So if you want to, keep your body and your immune system healthy and keep those kinds of diseases at bay, it stands to reason that you might want to get good oxygen in your system. This is like a hyperbaric chamber in a bottle of water. You just drink it like you drink normal water. So all of that is on my Healthy Living page. Again, LeighDundas.com. Go to Healthy Living, check us out, and I will see you, my friend, the next time we're at one of these conferences.
I hope so, man. I hope so. Oh, what an honor. Thank you so much, very much. And you can find us at rumble.com/do-not-talk or on my website, charliesimons.com, CharlEESIMONS.com.
See you later, alligator.